Okay, let's bring the saturation in. See how it's super choppy and transienty without that, and then when you bring that in, you get tail and sustain, and it connects all the drum hits together. Have another listen. Welcome back to Mixing Emo 2.0, where we're going through everything that went into this mix. That is actually the bridge to an upcoming song by the band Long Live, and this video is on mixing the cymbals and rooms of the drums. If you haven't seen the first two videos on the kick and snare, they're linked in the description. You can go back and watch those. Let's not waste any more time. I'll go through the plugins quickly, and then if you want to see every move in more detail, I'll go back through the plugins and explain everything and why I did what I did. So first off, we've got hi-hat, ride, and overheads, and they are being bussed to a cymbals bus here, which then goes out to the drum bus. And then for the rooms, I've got a Shell's near mic, a Shell's far mic. That's how I get it out of Modern and Massive from GGD. There's a near mic, which will be close to the kit, and then a far mic, which will be further back in the room when they recorded the samples. And then there is a cymbals room, which comes out of the drum sampler that I use for cymbals, which isn't GGD. I actually use DrumForge, and I'll show you that at the end of the video. So hi-hat, the gain plugin is just to get it up to the level where it's where I like it for gain staging, which will be just where the meter goes from green to yellow. And then an EQ, which is going to look strange for a hi-hat EQ. I think I used to, like everybody else, just roll off the low end. I prefer hearing the stick attack of the hi-hat, which is what this boost is doing here. And then obviously I want a bit of presence out of the hi-hat here. Remember, it's also in the overhead track, so this is something to get a bit more of the articulation and intelligibility out of the hi-hat. Then a dip here in the weird sort of honky mids. And then this track spacer here is just getting it out of the way of vocals. It would have been an effect that the hi-hat was getting in the way of, basically, on the vocals. Not really to do with the actual mixing the cymbal itself. Ride, again, the gain plugin to bring it up to the level I like. And then another weird looking EQ. Again, this is where the stick's going to hit. This is the sort of bite and presence of it, and then another sort of honky mid-range cut there. And then the actual overhead track itself, these are quite bright when they come out of the plugin, so I don't need to do any shelf or anything like that. Plus my mastering chain is going to have a shelf on it. So I just tame them with Soothe. Cymbal Smooth preset. Not sure I even tweaked it. Maybe I would have tweaked this depth thing here because I don't like it to make too much of a drastic change on the cymbals. That sort of gets rid of any sort of those nasty resonances and stuff, or quite a few at once, which is why Soothe is so good. And then actually no processing on the cymbal bus at all. Then we have the rooms. I want to just stress that programmed drums will always sound fake, unlike programmed drums, if you don't pay a lot of attention to the rooms. Those room tracks are going to glue the drum kit together, make it sound real, like it's in a real space, like it was all played together in the same room. And also you can get so much like dirt and energy out of, like, if you really sort of destroy your room tracks. So on the near mic here, I've just put a music club reverb on it from Valhalla Room, just because I think it sounds a little too dry and lifeless, so that gives it a bit more life. That's what's good about having the two different mics, the near and the far, is that you don't have to necessarily care too much about preserving the track, because you've got two. And an EQ, some weird cuts here. I think I probably would have started getting rid of the low end, getting rid of the high end. And then these would just be like frequencies I didn't like. And then we've got the room far. Now this is where I start to really mess up the room tracks as best I can. So into the FG Stress, which is a distressor emulation, 10 to 1, because it's got a slow attack and it's really heavy compression. So I'll sort of smash it through there, really get some energy out of it. And then after I've got all that transient energy, I can then distort, or saturate, I should say, to really get some character and dirt out of it. That's why we've got it on the A setting here on the Decapitator plugin. Quite high, so if you know this plugin quite well, once you get to about 3, it starts to really change. The 4's quite dirty, quite dirty. And then followed up with an EQ, just removing bits and that aren't pleasing, like these mids here. This sort of probably be muddy honkiness, and rolling off the low end so that it doesn't affect my low end mix and my kick and bass relationship. And I've got the cymbal room on a separate track, not doing anything to that. But as you can see, what also is good about having the cymbal rooms separate to the shell rooms is that I can do a little mini balance here and keep the cymbal rooms low. Because when you if you want to cane your rooms with compression and saturation, the cymbals just blow up. So being able to have the cymbals on a separate fader and bring them down so that I can get a vibrant energy without it just becoming a load of 4K and above hissy mess. That's how I get around that. And they go to this room track here where it's EQ again, extra bit of mud here, and this cut here probably interfering with the sub of the kick. And then chuck the DBX 160 on like you saw in the snare video. If I like the vibe of it, it stays on. Let's have a listen to the drums. I'll mute the room tracks and you'll see the difference that they make. They obviously, in solo, drums sound much nicer probably without the room tracks, but they're so important for when you've got the whole band in, like gluing that kit and not making it sound like you've got a kick and a snare and some cymbals, and that's all that's all you have, sort of poking around and floating around and not really in the mix, is any way I can really describe it. So I will mute the rooms and I'll bring them in. It obviously sounds a lot more clear and punchy without the room, sort of smearing it, but whoever hears drums like that, you always hear drums in a room. I think that's why your ear can pick it out as fake, and the rooms help to make it sound like a real kit that has some energy and, non-cleanliness, dirtiness to it. Okay, so let's go through everything in more detail. So hi-hat. You find a bit with hi-hat in, and I can show you what those EQ moves actually do. So yeah, that's not actually massively noticeable, but I just wanted to sort of bring out a tiny bit of emphasis down here where the stick is hitting. So I'll play you that one. There you get a bit of the stick attack of the hi-hat, which will then come through because the hi-hat will just get buried in the overhead tracks. I find that happens a lot with how I mix. So if I can bring out that actual stick attack, it gives the hi-hat a bit more presence, a bit more intelligibility, so you can hear what's actually being played. Now I'll play you the top end boost I got or the upper mid boost. So that's where like the trashy presence comes from. And again, that will just bring it out from the overhead tracks. And then we'll see what I'm sucking out. You can hear there's a kind of like a noise that it's quite subtle. But you'll hear it if I turn this off and then bring it in. You should hear that sort of 1K. It's honk, isn't it? I suppose coming through. That will also interfere with the the mid range of the vocals and the guitar and stuff like that. Yeah, let me play it and bring it in. Hear how it just sounds cleaner and nicer without that, doesn't it? Not necessarily bad, but once you notice once it's back, once you take it out and bring it back, you notice that you're probably better off without it. Okay, so same with ride. Find a bit with a bit of the song that has a ride symbol in it. I love rides to be really present. So again, this will be the stick attack here. That sort of low knock. You wouldn't necessarily think you're going to want that in there. And I started off mixing, always cutting those things out. But I actually like how it brings the spot mic, the individual mic for the rides out from the overheads. And again, this will be where the sort of trashy shimmer is coming from. You really get the attack of the bell from that boost there. And again, probably a similar thing with the mid cut to the hi-hat. Less noticeable there, but again, it's still happening. Okay, now let's hear the overheads, and we'll see how Soothe is taming those sort of nasty bits. You know, old school, before Soothe was around, you probably had to go through and find the resonances with an EQ and notch them all out. And you'd still miss some, and that's why I think in some of the old records you do get some nastiness in the cymbals. I think it is kind of, with pop punk, it is something that you do want, so you don't want to suck all of it out, because that sort of 2K, 2 to 4K horribleness is in pop punk recordings and mixes more than any other genre that I'm used to, even metal. So I am trying to consciously keep a lot more of that in than I initially did when I started. So again, I'll turn this off, and then put it back in, and we can hear what it's doing. So I'll start with it on, and then I'll bypass it. Again, subtle, but these things do add up. If I put this into delta, you can hear actually what the plugin is getting rid of. See, it's just those little bits that just hit pinch your ear, and it's just producing those enough. In other genres, I'd get rid of more of that, where you want a sort of cleaner area around the sort of 2 to 4K range. But I think in pop punk, you need that. It's part of what makes it so loud and obnoxious and aggressive, and it's something specific to pop punk. Okay, moving on to the rooms. So shells near. Let's hear it without the reverb. That just sounds dry to me, and a bit lifeless and a bit fake. So the reverb, because I have got this far room, which is far more fun than that near room. So this one I can just get a bit more ambience by, faking it with a Valhalla room plugin. This is what it sounds like with that plugin. Just pure washiness, smearing those transients in solo. It's not supposed to sound good. It's supposed to put those transients in a space. And then the EQ, let's start with it off, and then I'll switch it on. It just helps bring it back into focus. It gets rid of the muddy low end that's just taken over everything, and it cuts the high end out so that the presence of the actual drums and the actual shells themselves won't be affected by that. Okay, moving on to the fun one. Mixing rooms in this way is just fun because you haven't got to care and be careful. You can just go smash it with compression, smash it with saturation, and enjoy messing it up. So I'll take it off and play it by itself. Again, quite dry. So, I want some life, I want some tail, I want some glue happening. So this is with the heavy compression. Brings out such a cool vibe, Brings out the transient, but you also get a bit more of the sustain and all the other sort of bits of the drum sound that get brought up by the compression. Now, you can kind of treat it like it's a parallel drum track, because it kind of is. You mess it up and you bring the room track in slowly until where it's gluing the kit, but not necessarily ruining the kit. Okay, let's bring the saturation in. See how it's super choppy and transienty without that, and then when you bring that in, you get tail and sustain, and it connects all the drum hits together. Let's have another listen. There's a bit of a ring there as well, but hopefully the EQ takes care of that. Let's hear it with the EQ on. Yeah, it dulls it down. Okay, so when I'm distorting, get rid of the low end, because I don't want it to mess up my kick and bass relationship, especially the phase of what's going on down there. And let's hear what I'm sucking out here with this 385 hertz cut. Getting rid of the knock, and then darkening the whole thing here. Let's turn that EQ notch off like before, and then I'll turn it on. That's probably the biggest difference in this whole video. A being that one there. See how much nicer that sounded and more obvious and like coherent it became. You get so much more that thump out of the kick, and because I've rolled off the low end, that thump isn't going to mess with the low end of my actual kick. And in cymbal rooms, nothing happening, but this is how they sound. So they're such nice samples. That's why I always use DrumForge for cymbals, because I just don't hear cymbals like it in any other drum sampler. Okay, and then they're going into this room bus here, EQ, ducking out some. We've got this 200 muddy bit here, and then this will be, like I said earlier, to sort of stop it from interfering with the low end of my kick and bass. Let's mute that EQ, see what it's doing. That low end needed taming, right? That's what that EQ is doing, pulling that boominess and low end mud out so that the actual shells can shine through, making room for that. Okay, and then the compressor, which is going to make it quieter because it's I'm not doing anything with the makeup gain as such. Should be over compressing it, bringing out some tail, similar to the snare video. But you hear how that character and vibe is coming out of that. You get that swell in the sustain. And again, like with the snare one, if that's not your bag, don't use this compressor. You know, use a clipper, use a 1176, and get more transient out of it. But I'm just smashing it. I want that vibe and character. I've got enough transient and punch from my shells. This is for glue and vibe. Okay, so I quickly wanted to show DrumForge plugin that I would use my cymbals for. So what I would do is just bring in a hi-hat, bring in a ride, not the crash rides because I want the ride to be a ride, and with the definite bell. I'll pick one crash from the first three and one from the second three because that will give you a left speaker crash and a right speaker crash. And if you see my video on things about programmed drums that make them sound real, I talk about getting the best out of the stereo field by making sure your drum parts have a left and right focused crash. And then China and Splash, I don't have any in this song. What I would do is I'll go through and I'll find the best sounding ones from this plugin. So that one's like a deeper hi-hat, which I definitely prefer, so I probably would have gone with that. Let's hear these crashes. So I like the left crash to be higher, so I probably would have gone with crash 1. And then this one I want to be audibly deeper in pitch. So either 5 or 6 there, deeper. And then you can hear the stereo spread. If you're listening in headphones, you'll be able to tell more obviously, but I've got one left focus and one right focus. Listen. And then ride. Very clear bell on that ride, which is what I like about it. That's what I would have done for the cymbals. And if you're looking for a mix for your next song and you make music like this, I do offer mixing. So if you're interested in that, head over to terrybeckleyrecording.com and scroll down. You'll find my contact form. Fill it out and let me know what you're working on, and I'll get back to you. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.